Welcome to the Sibs Smut podcast. I'm Ned.
I'm Helen.
This is a podcast where we read, rate, review, and tell jokes while discussing your favorite, but mainly our favorite, romance novels. Today's book that we'll be discussing is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. Great read. Spoiler alert, we will be talking about these books in full. Beginnings, endings, twists are all fair game. So if you haven't read the book, we'll hit pause, go listen, and we'll wait. Come on back. All right, let's get this started. Helen, why don't you give us a brief summary of the book?
I will do my best. So Amelia Rose is Ray Rose. She's a princess of pop. She's burned out from years of maintaining her image in the starlight. She's obsessed with Audrey Hepburn, which is a fun character device. So she channels her favorite movie, Roman Holiday. She drives into the middle of the night for a break in Rome. But it's actually Rome, Kentucky, which is as far as she could get on her short timeline. So she ends up breaking down in the front lawn of Noah's house, and you come to meet Noah Walker, the male protagonist in this book. He is a grumpy guy here in Rome, Kentucky. This is his town. And so he is busy running the pie shop in Rome, and she is just a distraction for him. And there's lots of backstory to his life as well. And so they meet and sparks fly. So Noah starts to see a different side of Ray Rose, not the pop star side, but actually Amelia. She's kind-hearted and goofy, talks a lot, really wants bangs, and he can't help but get the hubbity-hubbities. That's a quote from Ned. And so soon she'll have to return to her glamorous life in the spotlight. But until then, Noah and Amelia will be in Rome, Kentucky, and will they, won't they, of the whole story. So she's been missing this feeling of community, and he has had a closed heart. Do you think, Ned, that they'll get together? I don't know.
Shocking.
Don't know. You have to find out. They do. They do end up together. Yes.
Spoilies. Yeah.
Spoilies. So that is what the book is about. It's Sarah Adams writes generally closed. Would you say? I think most of her books are closed door. This is definitely a closed door.
Yeah, I can't remember if book
Romance.
2 in this series is closed door as well. One of the other, there's 3 books in the series so far, with a 4th coming out, I believe, too. But I think the other 3 were pretty. I mean, if not closed door, they were much tamer than books that we've read in other series.
Yes.
Much tamer. Just off the bat, first impressions of the book. This is one of the things. The cover of this book spoke to me with the cartoonish characters and everything else.
You downloaded this. This was not my choice. You brought this into our shared library.
Yeah, because I enjoyed the cover art when it's not some beefed up dude, sporting abs and that happy V trail of of muscle that doesn't exist in the real world, and the
Not in our family.
not in our family, I have in my notes here, no to super buff dudes, yes to cartoons and cheeky cover art.
There was an article on Instagram. I don't know where. I'll say I read it on the New York Times or something. But they were saying how women have mastered how to read porn in public, because we put cartoon characters on the front of our books, and we can read that anywhere. Nobody knows what's inside. There could be the deepest smut you've ever heard of, but it has cartoons on the front. So people just think it's like a nice little beach read. But people are getting pounded while you're on the city bus.
I mean, I've had to go onto Goodreads and change the cover, to the not
I've
super
done that
sexual
too.
one.
I've done that. I'm like, what other versions of this book are there? I don't want people seeing this.
Yeah, highlighted on my Goodreads reel.
Ned Donnelly has finished Dirty Bastard.
Yeah.
That's tough. Yes, there's definitely
hardly fisting, book 5, whatever.
I feel like I have some friends who just don't put those on Goodreads. They're like, oh no, I I leave those
Oh,
on my Kindle.
My book count's got to be right. Like, I want everybody to know that I've read almost 2,000 books. Like, fuck off.
That's true. I have to have it because I want to remember too. I use Goodreads because I can't remember anything if I don't write it down. But
Yeah, well, and speaking in your summary, you kind of mentioned like classic story. I think Sarah Adams does a great job setting up Amelia like from the get go. Her character, like chapter 1, you meet her and she is a little distraught in her life, and I think Sarah Adams does a good job kind of making that character immediately likable and immediately relatable. Like she is, yes. Right off the bat, you're like, I like Amelia. She's fun.
Yes. And to that, so when she drives to Rome, Kentucky, she breaks down in Noah's front yard. It's the middle of the night. She decided to drive
her Toyota,
Toyota Corolla that she had before she got famous. And so this is like its last hurrah or whatever. So it breaks down, obviously. And he comes out of his house and he like approaches the car and she's in there and she like won't roll down the window and it's like 100 degrees outside, and so she's just like sweating and can't deal, and she's like, no, you're gonna murder me. And I just identified with that so heavily. If like I was like a woman driving alone in the night and some man just approached my car and was like, get out, your car is smoking, I'd be like, no.
I have this written down as the mistaken murder meet cute. Mistaken murderer meet cute. Like it is, and the funny thing is, I was thinking about, I haven't really seen this before, except for half the books by Sarah Brown are, it's like, is this guy a murderer? Let's fuck him.
Sandra Brown.
Oh, excuse me, Sandra Brown. What did I say?
Sarah Brown. Sarah Adams.
Sarah Adams.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn it. Sorry, Sandra.
Sorry, Sandy.
But yeah, I was like, it actually does happen a little bit more than I thought. But also, to your point, I'm like, I have written down, that's an inherently dangerous situation. Yeah. # woman problems, like real world woman problems.
But I think there's I feel like a lot of my friends, we like listen to murder podcasts to relax. And so, but I think a lot of that is to then like, okay, like there's a really great podcast, Crime Junkies, and their tagline is be weird, be rude, stay alive. And so it's like they tell all these stories of like terrible things happening. Then at the end they're like, hey, if somebody approaches your car in the middle of the night and you're alone, don't roll down the window. Like don't do anything that would put you, like don't run upstairs when someone with a scream mask is chasing you. I don't know. It's so
well, you never run upstairs, and just go get your gun. But
right.
Yeah, that was
these guns.
Yeah. But they did do that scene in a fun way, even though could have truly been a terrifying situation. And then #Team Mabel.
Yes, I loved the visualization of him. So also there's no cell service, and all of the things that like could have gone wrong went wrong. So
no internet, no cell service.
No internet.
He only has a
landline.
landline.
And he walks his landline out of the house, and it has like a 50-foot cord that he's like dragging from the house, like one of those little curly cords. And she was like, "What is that? Like, what are you holding?" And he's like, "It's a phone." She was like, "No, it's not." I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, and so he calls his, pseudo grandma in the town, Mabel, to vouch for him to get this weird woman parked on his front lawn out of her car,
ruining
the grass, and Mabel has her cackling in 2 seconds, and she's the nosy small town busybody neighbor that everybody loves and some people hate, but they love to hate, whatever. And I'm Team Mabel all the way. I absolutely love her characters, and she's in all 3 books too, and she's just great. And
to like, Noah is one of 4 siblings, and so this is one of Ned's favorite things where they have a series of books, and so each part of the series, each book in the series follows one of these siblings. And so Noah's the brother. Is he the oldest?
Yeah,
and
Noah's the oldest.
His 3 little sisters, and so they each are getting a book. So there'll be, I think, 4 total.
Yeah, Emily is book 3.
Yes,
and
Beg, Borrow, and Steal. Or something.
yeah, which just came out recently. And Anna was book 2,
Yes.
where she
Falls in love with the bodyguard.
the bodyguard, and she turns out to be a secret smut reader, and yeah,
Unlike us, we don't keep it secret.
not like
In fact, we're going to start a podcast about it.
We're gonna tell the fucking world. Oh yeah, but then so while they're kind of going over, she's like, oh, she's so used to everybody just falling in love with her and being like, oh, what can we do for you? How can we help? You're a sexual icon, whatever. That Noah's like, I want you out of my house. I want you out of my life as quickly as possible. And she's shocked by this, and she realizes that his blunt style means that she can just be blunt as hell too. Mm-hmm. So she says whatever comes to her mind, and one of them was she mentioned something about getting him tickets to whatever else, and he's like, oh, I'll get you, thanks for helping me, I'll get you backstage passes to my concert. He's like, why? He's like, I don't want that.
No interest.
Yeah, she's like then she makes some vague sexual reference, and he's like, I don't want anything to do with you. And she then do you want to read the line that we both loved?
You have to read it. I'd have to go get it.
It was she starts gesticulating, and she starts waving her arms like a T-Rex trying to land a plane. Oh my God, that made me laugh out loud. Oh my God.
Having been a T-Rex in my life, hashtag Carnegie Museums in high school, I actually dressed up as a T-Rex. I was the only person that could fit in the costume. It is hard to land an airplane with those short arms. It is
That's
hard.
great.
But that line sent me, and I think I voice noted it to you. I was like, and then I was like, Ned's gonna receive this like random voice note out of nowhere and just be like, what the hell? This is so out of place. But I'm glad you knew what I was talking about.
I knew exactly what you're talking about. I mean, I literally had it noted down. Oh, and trying to read my handwriting in my notes that I took.
My copious notes.
Yeah, it's so messily written that it took me like 3 times to figure out what the hell I was even trying to talk about. And then I'm like, oh, T-Rex trying to land an airplane. Right. And then shortly after that, Noah goes into town, leaving her at his house just up by his lonesome, and meets Harriet, who is this busybody, Bible thumping, just like wacko that runs the grocery store or whatever in town. And she says something so weird, and I don't even know how, it was disgusting. Yeah, you don't go dipping your toes in her pond. And he was like, I don't know what that means, but it was like inherently sexual.
So uncomfortable.
Yeah. I was like, I have to note that one.
Yeah. Well, they do callbacks with that later, because
they actually jump in a pond too.
Well, I didn't even consider that. But in the last chapters of the book, which I just finished, like an hour ago, there's a callback at the very end. He's like, if you meet Harriet, don't say anything about a pond. He's like, it'll get weird. She's like, what do you mean? And he's like, don't bring it up. Just know. I thought that was really funny.
Oh man, I think she, meaning Sarah Adams, did a good job with like the small town characters. Like there's the 2 gay dudes that run the hardware store who are super nosy, and then there's Mabel, and then there's Harriet, and then the 3 sisters who I love. Yeah. Emily, Anna, and
Madison.
Madison. I think. Yeah. And
she'll be book 4.
Yeah. And she's gonna fall in love with the neighbor. I guarantee.
James. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, I was, when I thought about romance novels, this was the kind of book that I like thought about. And, it was certainly not Fishfuckers.
Wait, really? This was like what you thought about?
Yeah, this was like what
not
I
like
thought.
A bodice ripper, like
like Fabio shit. No.
Oh.
Okay. I don't know. Like I thought Hallmark. I like Hallmark. like Hallmarky movie, like that's what I thought romance books were, not like the he violated her butthole,
Oh,
like
Jesus. Ew. It's all about consent. There's no violating in these books.
well, no, I'm not saying it had to be by
I'm
force.
kidding.
But no, but my other favorite line too was when after she meets the sisters, she goes, she's like, oh, it's been so long since I've had friends where if you clog a toilet at a party, they'll come get you and be the getaway driver.
Oddly specific. Like that had to have happened to Sarah Adams, that she would include that in this book.
Yeah, and like, hey, I'm gonna open this bathroom window and jump out. You get me on the other side of the bushes. Like,
Yes.
but I love that line. There's a couple of these just super quippy, like kind of one-off lines, like the T-Rex and this one that really stuck out to me. But I mean, we have to talk about her Audrey obsession. The entire reason she's in Rome, Kentucky is because she is absolutely obsessed with Audrey Hepburn, and Roman Holiday specifically inspired her going to this town. I mean, I couldn't tell if it was too much Audrey, like
It didn't grab me. You mentioned Hallmark movies. This felt like a Hallmark movie. I think especially maybe if it would have been more open door, it would have jumped up a notch for me, but there was definitely just like too much hokey and I get she had to sort of use Audrey Hepburn as a device, or I'm sure there's a better word for using, but like using her obsession with Audrey and the movies to have her connect with the sisters and to have her even show up in the town to begin with, and the lessons that she learned from Audrey's life, and Noah wearing the pajamas that the guy in Roman Holiday would have worn, things like that like I feel like she drew on that. So it was a very important part of the book.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a bright spot of her childhood with her mom, and
Yeah.
there's a lot more than average to like this it's more than just a mere plot point. But
Yes.
I'm like, when she starts a movie night with the sisters, and they do girls' nights where they watch Audrey movies and whatever, and I'm kind of like, all right, yeah, I'm okay.
I don't know if I know that much about Audrey Hepburn, so it wasn't like a thing that grabbed me personally. I mean, if she was obsessed with like Kelly Clarkson or something, maybe then we would have a different conversation. But
or DMX or
Yeah.
the Wu-Tang Clan.
or the Wu-Tang Clan. That I feel like is more so your childhood obsession.
Yeah, and shortly after that we meet her manager, Susan, who all I have written in my notes is Susan sucks. I think I even wrote that twice. I think there's one at the middle and one at the end where I'm just like, Susan sucks. I mean, nothing else to be said. So Susan is her manager, who has been berating her and really riding her hard and putting her away wet. And she is trying to get her back in home to her home in Nashville or whatever, because she's about to go on tour. She wants to do all this press. She has all this stuff, and Amelia's just like, nope, sorry, staying in town with this hunky pie making, dildo with legs.
Yeah.
I do. That's not written in my notes.
It's just drawn.
Yeah,
Just the outline with
have
two
a
little
picture of
legs.
it.
Okay, that is accurate. Yes.
Oh man. Yeah. So Susan sucks, and Noah's being a real butthole as well. Early on in the book, it's like she's kind of getting it from all sides, but I think she realizes that Noah is being a dickhole for personal reasons, but it allows her to be free. So she just is acting goofy and saying whatever comes to her brain. And, she slowly learns about this ex-fiance that he had that took him out of town, that,
The
you know,
backstory of how he
yeah,
got to be this way.
and why his heart's now closed down, and whatever. Um, but that kind of brings us right into like their impromptu first kiss, like in the pie shop. Like he gets like soap bubble jizz in his eyes, and she's like trying to wipe it out, and 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 they just like suck face
Yes.
right before the sisters come busting into
Yes.
to the kitchen.
I it
I don't know if I love that or was like, seemed a little early. I mean, it was chapter 9
which is early
ish.
early-ish. I mean, we've read the gamut, so I mean, we've seen it all. But I think I just felt like they both were thinking, "Oh, should we? Shouldn't we?" There, she was like, "Oh, I have these butterflies, but what does that mean?" And I was just like, "Obviously, you guys like each other. Like, there was just times where he was like, but I can't. Oh, I think I really like her, but I can't. But I can't." And it's like at some point, just try, geez, and which they finally get to, but it's like at the end of the book. And so a lot of the early on interactions where they're like really liking each other, where they like kiss in the pie shop and
And we
have
can't
these,
kiss. Oh, we shouldn't do
can't,
that
we
again.
can't. No, we need to set rules and boundaries. And I mean, what are some of the tropes? Like, would you say this is forced proximity, or I mean, strangers to lover? Like, what are the tropes in this that you would say? Not enemies to lovers. I mean, they don't.
No. Yeah,
I
no,
just don't think it
enemies.
qualifies as that.
Yeah, enemies to lovers doesn't really fit. I mean, he definitely is trying to send like he's a reluctant lover, I think, but like he's not an enemy per se.
Reluctant lover.
Reluctant lover.
I feel like you should make that T-shirt. That says
Yeah, reluctant lover.
reluctant lover.
We'll make a note.
But
That's
like
what we should make for our rom-con t-shirts.
see you at rom-com, folks. I think there's like forced proximity for sure, but sort of forced, and they wanted it to, so maybe forced on him. And then like celebrity love interest would be a trope.
Yeah. I mean, it's a small town, the
Yeah.
small town trope is there as well. The
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Nosy neighbors, like
Nosy
they're
neighbors, small town.
like Mabel is the entire reason why Amelia has to stay with Noah the whole time, because
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, honey, all my rooms are booked. Like, you can't stay here. Noah's just gonna have to take you in, or you're gonna sleep on the street." And it's like, okay, she totally baits him into it, and she's a conniving old broad, and it's great. I am
It
there
is great.
for it.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the sisters are gone for the first bit of it, and then they break into the kitchen and almost catch them making out. They don't. Um, oh my god! And then they all go to honks, as she calls it,
Honks.
honks. She's trying to wind up Noah.
She's
The local
baiting
bar,
him.
the local bar in town is called Hanks, and she keeps going, we're going to honks tonight. Should I wear a cocktail dress? Whatever. And he's like, no, woman, like jeans and a t-shirt. And she
Did
opens the
you
door
read
and
that
she's
as?
already.
I heard it as like honks, like a car honks. Or were you hearing honks like a French version of Hanks?
No, no, it was honks, as in car honk,
Oh, why would she wear a ball gown to a
because she was
cocktail
fucking with
dress?
him. She
Yeah,
was
that's
she even said, she's like, I didn't even bring a cocktail dress, but I'm just trying to razz him up, I think it's gonna be fun. And then she opens the door and she's obviously already wearing a t-shirt and
yeah.
jeans. She's like,
Okay,
oh, like
that's true.
this. So yeah, she's just screwing with him for she's.
That scene was they go to honks and she accidentally takes a sleeping pill instead
Yeah.
of her migraine medication. I didn't love that. I just it
Well,
felt
there's
too
two scenes.
convenient.
there's two scenes in this book. So she
Yeah.
drugs himself, or she drugs
Herself.
herself,
Yeah.
and then he takes her to the doctor, and she spills secrets about her life and whatever. And then literally the next day, he goes out and gets blind drunk and does the exact same thing. And literally, there's a line in there where it's like I wrote it down. Oh, it's pretty convenient that they kind of even up the score, and they even make mention of it. She's like, I'm pretty relieved that like he got drunk and spilled some of his secrets, so we're kind of even. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm glad that she didn't get drugged by somebody else. I mean, I'm glad she drugged herself, but yeah, I mean that was kind of an easy way to get around the whole. Just have a conversations, assholes. Like, but to his credit, he sits her down and goes, we need to have a real conversation about this, whatever. Yeah. And, and then, the sisters drag her out to the bar. So he's not even there for the first part of it. With the cussing jar made me laugh. The youngest sister Anna has a jar where she writes down. I just envisioned Ted Lasso with the niece who keeps writing down in her little notebook, and except for a 30-year-old woman who's doing this. Oh my God! And then as she's drugged and they're trying to get her in the house, she's like. Or no, Noah's like, I imagine this could have been like Weekend at Bernie's, like walking around a dead body. Like I was that visual made me laugh a lot.
Yes, yeah.
A scary situation, but funnily done.
Yes, and handled well enough. I mean, and same with like him. He like cut when he got drunk. Then he came home and like knocked a lamp over and cut his hand, and then she had to take care of him. And there were some funny lines in there too. But they were sort of out of their minds, so then they had to. That was when they shared all their secrets.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had the serious convo in the pie shop where she's like, "Oh my God, it could have been so embarrassing. Like, did I moon someone? Was there potential mooning?" And it's like Amelia's fever dream of embarrassment. She runs through this gamut of all these things that could have happened, but she really highlights did I take my ass out and show it to people?
You did a lot as children when you mooned people in the car all the time.
All the time.
Do you remember that thing that we had in the party barge that suction cupped to the window, and you had like a pump and it would pull the pants down and move?
Yeah, so it was a suction cup thing of a big fat guy, and you stick it to the window, and he just has these big red pants on, and you squeeze a little squeeze button, and he pulls his pants down and moons the car next to you. Oh my God, we had so much fun with that.
I forgot about that. Hasn't entered my brain space in 30 years, maybe less than that. But
that and the fart machine were probably two of the best things that ever happened to us, in our youth.
We got in a lot of trouble for that when you put it under Tyron's chair at Thanksgiving.
That was I put it under Dad's chair when Uncle John was there, and he yelled at me at the dinner table. Yeah, that was. You need to apologize to everyone right now. Whoopsie.
Yeah. Oops. But we got a lot of good use out of that fart machine. No farting in this book. Closed door and closed farting.
Yeah, I mean, no real dirtiness of any kind.
I know, which I can't say I liked. I need farting so that I feel like I'm
less gross
them.
About yourself.
Yeah, I feel better about me. And I know I told you this when we were texting about this book, but I wanted more. It felt like a Hallmark movie. I knew every play. I knew every turn. Nothing really surprised me. I could have guessed. I mean, we can talk about the ending later, but I could have guessed it pretty easily. I wanted more. This book was funny and heartwarming and a great. I don't know if I would recommend this to friends who are like, oh, I want to start reading smut, because there's no smut in it. I don't even feel like it qualifies as smut. Do you?
No, it's not. It's romance, but not smut.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't remember really, but I think I in the her subsequent two books, she calls out chapters where it's like, hey, if you want this to be more closed door, like you can skip these chapters or whatever. So I think she gets a little more into it in the next two books, but this one was, I mean, fairly tame by standards of what we've read, other series that we've read, but.
But
To me,
even
that doesn't detract from it. Sometimes you need to get out of your dirty little fucking mind, Helen, because it's, there's a lovely world of romance out there that is,
listen,
sweet.
YOLO. I only have so much time in my days. I'm a busy woman. I want to get straight to it. I need the smut. I need it up front. I don't want to waste my time on these Hallmark movies. I'm just kidding. I love Sarah Adams books. I will read every single one. My favorite though, and much trumps this one, I think is way better than this one, is the cheat sheet. That's like the football player and his best friend from high school or something, and she's a dance teacher. I think I might be mixing up.
No, yeah,
Books.
she's a friend. She's a friend of his from childhood. Been there, totally friend zoned, and then they just decide to, bang one out and start dating, and it's great. That's what I
Cheat
remember
Sheet
of that
is
book.
my favorite of Sarah Adams books, and I like that series of books too. This series definitely gets better. Like we just read the third installment, the
Yeah,
Beg, Borrow,
beg,
and
borrow, or steal.
Steal. Fantastic, and like you said, there's chapters that are open door. Finally, so.
Well, I,
Sex
I,
sells.
I think Annie gets pretty down and dirty in the second one
Yeah,
too.
I have to read it again. I don't remember.
Yeah,
Did you
she's just a flower shop.
We read this one twice. We read it a while back, but you picked it. So this was you picked it because of the cover art.
Yeah, the cover art.
Did you feel like it was like, I don't know, like, when you read it the first time and then you read it this time, did you feel like it was better, worse, same? Like, how did you feel about it reading it back this time?
No, I thought it was as good as the first time. Like I enjoyed it a lot. The characters are relatable and funny. The story, yeah, is a little predictable, but it's romance, so like there's only so many stories that you can tell, and I think Sarah Adams did it in a funny, interesting way. And I like the ancillary characters, the side characters, everything else. Yeah, I enjoyed it just as much this time as I did, and we couldn't find it on the library or whatever else, so I bought the book
You own it now.
from Audible. So you're welcome, Sarah Adams. I mean, you get paid from the library too, but it's the principle of the thing.
Yes.
But yeah, that was yeah, I enjoyed it just as much as I did. As you're 100% right. If you're gonna be recommending dirty books to people, smutty books to people, then yeah, this is probably
is
not the
not
top of
it.
the list.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think it's a good kind of version of romance to put out there to people. I would say it's romance intro. It's
Yeah.
like
Maybe your
this'll-
teenage cousin would really like this book.
Yeah, it'll prime the pump for the dirtiness later.
Read this. High schoolers could read this and then move on to the good stuff in college.
It's smut foreplay.
Exactly.
Oh my God! Well, and then another running gag that they have throughout all of the rest of the three books is Amelia is a terrible cook.
Yes.
And she makes
funny.
the worst pancakes, and
It's like
she
eating sand.
yeah, he's like they're the first time she makes them and he eats them, she's so hopeful, so looking for it, and he's like, do I just tell her that they're good or whatever else? And he goes, no, and he looks at her dead in the eye and goes, they're shit.
They are terrible.
And that made me laugh, and throughout the next, so she cooks pancakes twice more in this book
Yeah.
or 3 times more, but one time we're not there for it. She almost burns his house down. The fire, she runs next door. He's at James's house, and his next door neighbor and best friend from childhood. And
she's like checking through the window to be like, okay, fire truck's gone.
yeah, fire truck's gone. Small little fire. It's out now.
Bye.
Bye, and then runs out of there. That made me laugh a lot. Oh, and then the breakfast with the gossips too, where they're they go into town for the first time and they eat at the diner, and the waitress just sits down in the booth and goes, "Hey, so do you know about his ex-fiance?" And just starts spilling all the tea.
To pour coffee for people. She's like, people at the counter need coffee. You go pour it. I'm going to talk to her. He was like, what? Okay. That was funny.
Yeah.
And cute. And I think I will say what this book did really well was build the world out, which as it should. It's the first of a series. And Sarah Adams is introducing you to Rome, Kentucky. She's introducing all of these characters that the town characters and all of the characters, all of the siblings are in play for all 3 that are out in 4 books. So I think to that point, it is really important for her to build the world out, introduce these characters, show how they all work, like interact. And I did love that. That was very well done. I felt like this book, you felt like you were there, like you understood like, oh, we have a sale on hammers today. And you're like, no, he just wants to gossip with you.
Yeah.
So
the dynamics were clearly laid out, and you kind of understood the interaction between everybody.
Very much. Yeah.
Well, and I have on here like everyone, it's such a small town that everyone just walks in each other's doors and whatever else. So like there's 3 different times where Noah and Amelia get interrupted by the sisters, which I wrote down as sis interruptus, because they were like having a very intimate hug, and so after chapter 9, they don't even kiss again until chapter 27. Like it's like over half the book goes by before anything else even happens again. So the cis huggus interruptus happens, and like it's awkward, and he goes storming out, and that's when they start talking about beans for male genitalia. Don't put the beans above the frank.
Okay. That, I think I bookmarked that in the Audible book because I was like, wait, are they? What? I was like tuning in and out a little bit, folding laundry and listening. And I was like, wait, they're talking about male balls and calling them beans. Like, well, but it's funny because one of the girls is like, wait, do they call male balls beans? And I was like, that's what I just thought. And they were like, yeah, absolutely. They definitely do. And I was like, no. There's like flicking the bean, but men's balls are not beans unless there's Frank involved. To your quote from, what is that? Something about Mary.
Something about Mary, yeah. You never put the beans above the frank because he zips his balls into his zipper, and then they can't go to prom. Yeah. Yeah, and then we talked about the fire department, and then I think my favorite write down on my notes in here is the swimming hole ogle fest, where they are like having this he pushes her into the pond, and then he leisurely takes off his clothes on the dock, and she is, as I called it, polite eye fucking him from the water.
That's right. She is horny.
Yeah, she is definitely greased up, and then you have this and then they have this flirty straddle session on the beach, and then they like, and they suck face, and chapter 27, and they're like, oh, we can't do this again. You're leaving. Boundaries. We can't do this. And it's like okay, whatever. And so instead of boning right there on the beach, he goes, why don't you have lunch with my senile grandma? Like, and they go, which is very sweet. But it's also like, instead of having sex, let's go talk to my demented grandma.
Both of ours were too, so we get it.
Very Heimery, Alzheimery. Very,
very with the Heimer. you know me, I love a good backstory, and Noah's backstory I felt like was really well done. So their parents died when they were little. They died in like a camping accident during a storm. They never made it off the mountain, and so just the parents had gone. So it was just so the kids were home, and then essentially they were raised by the grandmother who now has Alzheimer's, which I think is a secret for half the book. But and then the town essentially raises these kids. So the grandmother and Mabel were best friends, and they take care of the kids, mostly just them. And then all the other town characters love these people, love these four siblings so much because they raised them when their parents died. So you get to know Noah's backstory and why. And then he has this like ex-fiance that he left town for. And so they did long distance and it didn't go well, which is why
She cheated on him when he came back to deal with the grandma and, you know, and figured things out. And then she started boning somebody from work and he's like, well, this sucks, and moved back to town.
But I think that's his story. That's why he doesn't want a relationship with. That's why he's so scared off of. Amelia.
Well, and as a therapist, can you speak to the efficacy of boning a storm? When you're afraid of storms, can you have sex to get that out of your system and like overcome your fears?
Mm-hmm. It's page 158 in the DSM-5. Yes, it's
getting over storms. Just fuck.
Jizz it out.
Yeah. Unload your problems.
Quite the exposure therapy they're showing there. Yeah, no. I mean, I'm sure it helps to have somebody there. But,
yeah.
So and that was the
cuddling, and then it's like, oh, let me undo the buttons. And she has a very real moment in bed where she's like, everyone expects me to be Ray Rose, the pop star.
Yeah,
so like they have certain
true.
expectations of me in bed, which was a very kind of like sobering moment, but it was interesting that in your first like time getting down, like you're going to bring this up, but also it's telling of their relationship together where she's comfortable enough to bring this up and say exactly what's on her mind. And it is a very raw emotion of like, people expect me to be a certain way in bed, and when I'm not, they don't like it. And he's like, that's okay, honey, just give me that pink. And that's chapter 31.
What is there a celebrity that you envision when you're picturing her? Because she describes her as having like long brown hair, like petite, really small.
Yeah, I don't.
Like an Olivia Rodrigo or something like.
I'm not sure who that is. I was thinking maybe Ariana Grande, maybe.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I honestly, I didn't even think of one until you said it right now. I just took her at face value in the book of how she was described. I didn't try to make her into someone that we know.
I just can't stop thinking about like if you say a pop star, in my mind, it's Britney Spears, and how her life was just destroyed by like being overworked and
shaving her head,
and the paparazzis kind of ruined her life. So I couldn't get her out of my brain for most of this, but I don't think that's who Sarah Adams had in mind at all when she was writing this.
No, and and I don't know. Yeah, it makes me just feeling uncomfortable even thinking about it.
I don't want to think about it.
I don't want to think about it. And so they have an all night fuck fest and shower sex the next morning, and all behind closed doors. Bummer.
Yeah.
And she's still super bad at pancakes. And once again on my notes, Susan sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So Susan has been putting a wedge between Amelia and her mom for the last couple of years, and we find out towards the end of the book that she has been stealing money from Amelia. She has been actively sabotaging the relationship with her mom, and literally working her to death. So it's she in a brave moment of, hey, I'm going to stand up for myself. I finally figured out what you're doing and how you've been taking advantage of me. kicks her ass straight to the curb, and
Fired.
you fired, and in glorious fashion, and really gives her the business after Susan leaks where she is, and the paparazzi show up and start harassing them and everything else, and then security sweeps in and saves them. It's all big to do. There was a very short low point in this. They kind of go, oh, well, I got to go back on tour, and he's like, well, you don't, how are we going to stay in contact? You're going to just be with people on the road and whatever else. And then he goes,
calls him all the time.
Yeah, and the sister goes, you're being an idiot. Get a cell phone and go fucking visit her.
Oh, he doesn't have a cell phone. Have we mentioned that?
No, I don't think we mentioned it at all.
He just has a landline.
Yeah, just as a landline.
With a 50-foot cord.
Yeah, well, because, I mean, he gets no service at his house anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah.
Yes. So he gets a cell phone, and so then they can actually communicate.
Yeah, and there's more sex in chapter 35, but I can't read my handwriting.
You just have to draw these scenes out. Just use a sketch pad.
Something behind closed doors sex scene. Oh, maybe another behind closed doors sex scene. Yeah, so he ends up following her on tour, and meets her at one of the venues, and then decides to take a break from the pie shop to go and go for a month and do it. And the big thing for him too is that he is still dealing with his grandma. So it's like it's hard for him to get out of town, but his sisters step up and take over for him and help him out, and really try to give him the space to be able to go and
be in love,
meet the love of his life, and
be in love.
Yeah, so he goes and meets her at the concert, and then they skip forward like 6 months, and they're engaged. She's taking a step away from the limelight. She isn't after her 9-month tour, so ostensibly they've been dating for just about 10 months, and then plus 6 months after that, they're engaged. I think is the timeline.
When you know.
Yeah. Straight up bone zoning.
But not bone zoning. This book
behind closed doors.
Wanting more. I wanted more. Which I think Sarah Adams does really well in her other books. This one was not it for me. But I think a very important book to read for the series, because it sets the tone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you definitely got to start with book 1 in this series. There's other series where you could potentially read them out of order, and it's not going to be a big deal. There's enough world building in some of these other ones, or the stories are separated enough where you don't really need to read them in order. But this series is one where you absolutely need to start with book 1 and get introduced to the town. I mean, and they do a decent job at reintroducing all these characters again in each book, but you definitely get more of the backstory in this book about all the small town characters and everybody else, the sisters, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on. Like Emily, the older sister, is the one that yells at him and tells him to go on tour because she blows up at them one night going, she's leaving, yells at him, and then goes to therapy and realizes that she has abandonment issues, super hard from childhood.
And the night that she blew up and yelled at Amelia and Noah, she immediately knew she was in the wrong. She's like, I shouldn't have said that. And so as her apology to Amelia, she eats the pancakes that Amelia, and Amelia's like, I could tell by that action she was apologizing to me. So it is funny.
It was a sincere apology because she ate my concrete pancakes.
She ate the pancakes made of sand.
Yeah.
That did make me laugh.
Helen, what would you rate this book?
My original rating was 3 out of 5, and I think I would stick with that. I am a ratings whore, as you've pointed out many times. And so I still would rate this 3 out of 5. I think it's really heartwarming. It's a lovely story. I personally wanted more out of it. So that's where I'm sticking with that. I'm going to stick with my 3.
I gave it
What
a
about
solid.
you?
I gave it a solid 4. I gave it a solid 4.
Okay.
I very much enjoyed it, and we, like we said, it was different than some of the early books that we had read, and I picked this book strictly because of the cover. I think we had read a couple of her other books, but
Yeah.
I didn't. I don't know if I even made that connection. I just liked the cover art and picked it, and I enjoyed
Kudos
it.
to that artist. I wonder
Yeah.
who the artist was.
I enjoyed it a lot.
High praise. That's how I
yeah.
pick wine too, based on the label.
Yeah, so that, yeah, I like it. I like her.
Yeah.
So yeah, four from me. All right, any final thoughts?
I would recommend this book to a high schooler. That's my final thought. Is that it is intro.
You'll be getting
101.
Lucy a copy soon.
This is actually what I've been reading out loud to Lucy at night.
Yeah.
Yes, my 1-year-old.
Yeah, you're 1-year-old. All right, so what do we have up next week?
I'm so excited. Next week, we are reading a book by Emily Rath called Pucking Around.
Uh-oh.
It is hockey smut and a real
It's real dirty.
spicy. It's super spicy.
Very spicy burrito.
I am gonna have to take a Tums before our podcast recording session, because even talking about it with you is gonna be it's one thing when we like text each other the like really gross stuff, but like talking about it face to face
Oh, yeah.
is gonna be a little weird.
We
But
should see if we can find our text messages back and forth, because there was some real out there stuff in this book.
I mean, like, I can't think about this book and not think about semen swapping, and it's just
You went there already. You're not even saving it for the right podcast.
I am putting my toe in the pond is what I'm doing there. It is truly
dipping your toe in the pond.
dipping my toe in the pond. There is a lot more where that came from. So
Yeah.
all right, that's our book for the next pod.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for this one. So, thanks for listening. This is Sibs Read Smut.
Stay smutty.
Stay smutty.
Stay smutty.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.